it is.
Oh.
Right, success factors for digital asset offerings. Now, one such success factor may just be that you can do it through a bank, but as we went through the afternoon, one topic that kept coming up, obviously, was compliance. And while I believe compliance is important and you should just get it right and all that, it's also sort of a checkbox, right? Once you through compliance, yes, it's compliant, but probably there are 100,000 of other things that make or break the success of a digital asset offering. So I have an illustrious panel here with me that know all about what it takes to make an STO a success. Let's start just to my left, please, with a little introduction, a few words about yourself.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Roger, for inviting me. I'm honored to be part of this panel. And I have to say, I think it's fair to say that on the 50th anniversary of the World Economic Forum, women are not yet enough represented on fintech, and we can see among the audience women are still not enough, right? So I'm very happy to represent women on this panel. And my name is Silvia. I used to live actually here nearby in the Crypto Valley in between 2014 and 2017, when there's been the explosion of interest for crypto and for blockchain. And this is where I developed my strong interest in the sector. I'm now based in the Principality of Monaco, this tiny country in the south of France, and I work for JTC Group. I'm part of the team private office division of JTC Group. We are a group listed in London. We are present in 20 countries in the world. We count 700 professionals around the world. And we offer private office services to private clients. So this is our area of expertise. But we do this with a difference, because we use technology. And what technology can do for our private clients. So we invested in a software able to consolidate the assets of our clients in one single page. Basically, our clients have, through an application, through an app, the possibility to have the overview of their assets, consolidated overview of their assets, starting from financial assets, but also not financial assets. Non-financial assets and potentially digital assets. We are here at the crypto conference, so potentially also crypto assets can be displayed in this platform. So we think in this way we can add value to the life of our clients and saving one of their most precious assets, which is time. So I think in this panel I represent the investor side, and I'm looking forward to the forthcoming discussions.
Mark.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you heard already my name, Mark, CEO from the Inco Bank. You heard also that I was involved from the beginning when we founded Inco Bank in 2007. I want to give you a short story. A couple of years ago, I heard from a board member during some meeting or the board meeting. A board member said to me, "Look, Mark, I think with all these fintech companies and crypto companies and tokenization, everything is coming us, banks won't survive." It's funny, a board member saying that, like that to you. And I said, I don't believe in that. I think completely different. Because I think with banks, if they change their strategy, it's most important, and banks will be a part of that new business and the new kind of things we are doing in future with digital assets. And so I think banks will be more and more important in future if we go the right way. Where's Inco Bank coming from? When we were founded in 2007, the business idea of Inco was to be an outsourcing provider in B2B for other banks in Switzerland. And we started with things like back office processes, also IT, application management for other banks, everything as a service. But for all these things, you don't need a banking license. And we said we want to go a little bit forward. We want to have a unique position for the Inco Bank, and we said we want to have a banking license on that. And why want we a banking license? Because we want to be also the global custodian, we want to be the broker and the correspondent for all the banks who are doing an outsourcing to us. So that's the old word for us. And now we decided in a strategic paper that we want to go into the future. And we said we want to offer also to the banks in B2B crypto trading. we want to offer storage solutions and also things. And the next thing we decided to do was the tokenization of assets together with our new partnership in ACTA. And the third thing we are thinking about at the moment, and you heard it also from Onesto, when you heard my name with Inco, we decided we want to help fintech companies and other companies if they need banking services. And banking services, we understand as a B2B bank, for example, for payment services, that we have a possibility to have fiat accounts changing into cryptocurrencies. So that's a little bit history of Inco Bank.
Right. Ralph, a few words about you.
Hi everyone, my name's Ralph. My background is actually technology, so I'm not a banker. I'm a trained engineer, and I basically help companies to make sense of the digital transformation, or the fourth industrial revolution, as they call it up here. I have a special focus on blockchain technologies, digital assets, and the token economy. I had some exposure to the crazy day of the ICOs in 2017. I also advised a Brazilian company in 2018 on a concept that was basically Libra for Brazil, and a few other things in the space of blockchain. And I recently joined Mason Privatbank in Liechtenstein, basically to help them build up their crypto capabilities. And I guess the goal is to make them one of the key players in the digital asset ecosystem that is still developing, and that is probably also getting a real boost, especially in Liechtenstein with the new blockchain law that got introduced at the beginning of this year. And I'm looking forward to a very exciting STO time in Liechtenstein and in Switzerland, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that on this panel we have not one but two banks, right? This is somehow contradicting the Satoshi, the Bitcoin white paper that envisioned a world without banks. How is it, Ralph, that banks want to become part of this movement?
Interesting question. I actually think the millennials, the generation that grows up now and becomes investors, they will probably naturally invest in digital assets, and they're probably going to use a smartphone to do so. But we do see more traditional investors getting interested in this, in those digital assets, in crypto in particular, and basically also to diversify their portfolios. And the other side that we see is a great interest from institutional investors. And those guys probably will not invest using a smartphone. They want that kind of regulated entity, the services that a bank can provide. And I guess that's the relevance that we have. Again, for us, as a bank, we do wealth management, and a digital asset is just another asset that we can also use and serve our clients, basically.
Yeah, maybe I can add here something from the banking side, because I think it's not a decision whether you want or want not. It's a must for banks that they go into that area, because I think that only people around the world believe in the new digital assets if there are banks involved, because banks is similar to trust. And I think that's the reason why must banks go into the market. Otherwise, we will have only, you can say, the splitter groups from my side. I'm thinking a little bit there. We have already a huge ecosystem in crypto and blockchain. But still, if you have a look on the whole thing, it's a small size. And to get it bigger and bigger, you must bring banks into that business area. And I think especially smaller banks like us, or we have also other smaller banks here in the podium with the new crypto banks in Switzerland, we need these banks to bring trust into that business. And if we finish that, then we have really a chance that everybody believe in the new stable digital area, from my side.
Yeah.
Yeah, Silvia, these banks seem to be quite sure of them being needed for this whole thing. You as an investor, do you share this view? Do we really need banks?
Well, I think that banks will be, I mean, financial institutions in general and banks are needed and will continue to be needed, right? But I would like here to mention a quote, like wisely Charles Darwin said many years ago, "It's not the strongest of the species that survive, right? But it's the one that is the better adapt to the changes." So the banks that are more flexible to adapt to the changes, the one that embrace the change and do not reject this new fascinating world that we are living a digital revolution, which I think is just fascinating, probably one of the most fascinating era of human beings, right? So if these financial institutions are not able to embrace the change and to probably offer to their clients services related to crypto, but I'm seeing it on a private client's perspective. When it comes, for instance, just as simple as that, to open a bank account for a private client that generated his funds through crypto investments, right? Because he was an early adopter. So it's difficult to open a bank account because the banks don't have a compliance system able to really track how these funds were generated. And immediately crypto is kind of banned, is immediately seen something like a scam, right? But if financial institutions are able to embrace the change and to educate their compliance in the sense of accepting this type of funds generation, then I think that banks can survive. It's a matter of adapting to the change, right? Because change can bring opportunities and values. So, and this panel is a great example because in a crypto event, we have 2 banks on the panel. So it means that there is interest. And they are certainly a great example of how the change can be embraced.
So I think success factors for digital asset offerings, one essential ingredient we identified is banks, agile banks that can adapt, that move on. Can we think of other things that make digital offerings a success, or flipping it around, what's a way to make it fail?
I actually think we're still early days. It's a bit hard to really nail down the critical success factors right now. There's still a lot of experimenting that needs to be done. Some validated learnings are necessary to really see what exactly we need. I mean, again, from a bank's perspective, if a client comes to us, he wants to do an STO, he wants to get some fiat money, he will need a bank. So I can just say, if you want a bank account, make sure you have your compliance, you know your customer, as we heard before. You have your, choose your regulatory, your legal framework, choose a good jurisdictions to have your STO, depending on what it is. It might be Germany, it might be Liechtenstein, it might be Switzerland, it might be somewhere else. So it's really kind of do the work beforehand, to make sure you don't get stopped by not getting a bank account is my kind of key factor.
That's right. But on the other side, I think it's important that we can give a hand to that companies and help them. Especially I've seen when I talk very often to fintech companies, they have not all the knowledge which you need for that kind of business because they have not the knowledge we have in a bank. They have not the compliance departments and all these regulations. And so I think if you are open as a bank, you go also to these potential new customers we can get and help them to bring their new business up and running.
Yeah, I would like to explore that part a bit more. What does it take to make it attractive to an investor? What makes an investor purchase a particular?
Yeah, so this I think is a very interesting question. I would answer to this question with, I mean, at the end of the day, behind business, there is always people, right? It's people that close deals, it's people that make decisions. So when there is an STO, you are offering a product or a service, right? And in the end of the day, you have in front an investor that has to decide whether you could add value or not to him or to her. It depends. So I think at the end of the day, what's relevant is the team that is behind, right? Are you able to align with the value of the investor? Is the investor you have in front aligned with your value? Are you able to demonstrate to him that, that you can do something valuable for his life or for the life of the next generations to come? We have seen, for instance, in the last 10 to 5 years, a trend for investment in investment for social impact, like investment for positive causes. And I think if you are able to promote a product that aligns with the visions of the investor, that there is where the match arrives, right? There is where you can show that to the investor you have in front that he can trust you, he wants to bet on you, and he's willing to give you value to pursue your scope. So this, I think, what makes a difference. So in the end of the day, is people. You need to show to the investor that you align with the value, and therefore he will give you value. So that's where the investors are able and willing to give you funds to pursue your scope.
Yeah. And when we talked before this panel, you mentioned that one needs to find something the investor can be passionate about.
Yeah.
I very much like this. Obviously, I mean, thought about the Thinker project we've just seen before. If you're passionate about sustainable food production, for instance, that is something very particular that you now have an offer. Now, we have 2 minutes left. If it's okay, I would like to ask the audience for a question, if you have anything.
I think there is one there.
Yeah, on the back. The microphone is on the way. Seconds.
Last week, my name is Guido. Hi. I'm in different blockchain projects. Last week, our foreign minister of Switzerland stated that the aim of blockchain is to bypass the banks. How you see it?
I think it was a wrong words from him. I don't think that he believed in his own words he said there. Or think so.
I would say, I mean, he has a point, and if we don't do our homework at banks, we could be disrupted, as we say, in the long term for sure. But at the moment, we still play this role. Again, if you have that gateway to the regulated, to the fiat money, it's just not possible without banks, which is not to be complacent about it and say we don't have to do anything. I think we need to change as banks, and it is hard. I mean, I see that's my job in the bank I work in. We want to be crypto friendly, but it's a process. Mm-hmm. It's a learning, and again, we have to go through that learning. If we don't, I don't know if we have a reason to exist in the future. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I must add something else. And you have to take all your stuff with you. It could not be only your idea on the C level. You must take your persons in the bank with you with no business ideas. But then it comes good, believe it to me.
May I add one topic on that? You said we need the banks. If you see the whole ecosystem, there are already gateways between fiat and crypto, which are outside of traditional bank situations. So I think your point to support is the bank has to change also the whole model because otherwise we don't need banks anymore, even today.
All right, our time is up. Thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.